Well, have you ever wondered what it took to be on the Orange County Grand Jury? Well, we're going to learn about that today, and we have a couple of people that are joining us today. Now, Sheila Hansen, right, you're the assistant presiding judge,
Correct.
which sounds really interesting. And Dan, I'm sorry, what was your last name again?
Doug Gillen.
Doug Gillen, there you go. Thank you so much for joining us today on the program. We appreciate it. So, first of all, let's talk about the grand jury. Why is it so important to our county? And then we'll get into, some of the recruiting processes and what's, why it's so important to all of us.
So the Orange County Grand Jury is really the public watchdog of all of our local government. We bring together 19 citizens who are the eyes and ears of our community, and they have an opportunity and obligation to investigate and look at the operation of local government, whether it be county, city, or public agencies, and make sure that they are operating ethically, efficiently, and ensure good government. That's the primary function of the grand jury. There's also a second function. They act as a criminal grand jury for a smaller portion of the time, and in that role, they listen to evidence that's presented usually by the Orange County District Attorney's Office in cases in which they seek to charge someone with a felony crime. They present the evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury listens to the evidence and decides if there's enough evidence to demonstrate there's probable cause to believe a crime was committed and the person they want to charge is guilty of that. And if so, they return an indictment. So really important.
Yeah, so especially that part, because it's the felony, I want to say it's a felony process. So these are like really serious crimes that have been committed, and then they actually get the whole process going if they feel that it needs to move forward, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that's really important too. So you were a part of the grand jury, I assume?
I've served on 3 previous grand juries,
Wow.
2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and during the pandemic, 2020, 21.
Wow.
So we were the only grand jury that particular year that met in person.
And why did you find it so interesting that you had to keep, signing up once again?
I like the aspect of being able to find ways to improve the county, to make sure that our tax dollars are being spent wisely, and also that aspect of accountability. Sometimes people look at what's going on and they go, who's minding the store?
Right.
Well, that's our job.
Exactly. Now, you, as the presiding judge, what is your role, as you start to, assist the actual 19 members during this process?
Well, we handle and assist with the recruitment of the grand jurors, and then after an individual applies for the grand jury, we put together panels of Superior Court judges that interview each of the candidates.
Right.
And then we put together a slate of individuals, a certain number from each of the supervisorial districts, and we put it to a vote of the entire Orange County Superior Court judge.
So what are you really looking for? What really sticks out when you're looking at a volunteer that wants to help in this process?
Well, first and foremost, we're looking with someone who wants to serve their community.
Right.
We want to make sure they've got good judgment, they could work well with others, that they're not coming to the grand jury with any type of an agenda, but rather they are interested in good government, they want to work with each other. The requirements to be on the grand jury are that they are a U.S. citizen, they're at least 18 years old, they've lived in the county for at least a year. And so we're looking for people who are willing to work together and
that's the most important thing, right? So have you found certain years where you have a lot of people from the northern part of the county, volunteer, and then maybe some years you might have, kind of more in the southern part of the county, but you're trying to balance that out throughout.
We do try to balance. We want to make sure we have grand jurors who live in all areas of our community, so we have a nice, diverse geographical background, and then we are looking for people from all walks of life. There is no magic experience. You don't have to have a degree or a special kind of job. We have retired individuals from professional roles. We have stay-at-home moms. We have all sorts of type of people.
Right. Now, when you serve with those 3 different juries, I guess, how different were they from one year to the other? Did you find like, oh, that one year, was it 2016? I really enjoyed that You know, and sometimes, you know, anytime we're with a large group and we're all trying to, you know, solve an issue or whatever it might be, there's always challenges that go on. So are there any that really stick out in your mind during those times?
Well, the graphic that's behind you right now is interesting because that happens to have photos on it from the 2018-2019 grand jury.
Right.
And so we've got pictures there from our own tours of the Orange County Fire Authority, the Water District, and the Sanitation District. Very interesting. I think the 2016-17 was my first, so it's like, okay, I've never done this before. The other two were, you build a camaraderie among the people. I'm still in contact with people that I worked with, you know, 9 years ago. So it's, you build kind of a micro community, and that's for me is the interesting part about it.
Right. And because you had already served a year prior, maybe, or did do you become the foreperson, or would you kind of elect that person, and how does that happen?
I didn't want that position.
So when you're selected to be on the grand jury, then you could apply to be the foreperson. And myself, the assistant, the presiding judge, and other, and
so out
prior
of
grand jurors interview
19,
them.
you might have 4 people that want to say, I want to be the
Correct.
foreperson, and you all kind of, you know, decide on that, and hopefully they're okay with it, right? And
They
still
are.
want to continue, right?
They are.
So what would it take for someone to be a part of this process? What is the recruiting process? You know, is there a time limit? Are they going to get paid for all this, you know, volunteer time that they're doing?
So the time to apply is now,
Okay.
and they can submit their application through January 16th of 2026. They could go on the grand jury's webpage at www.ocgrandjury.org
Okay.
to apply. They do receive small payment for their commitment. They receive from the county $50 a day, and they also receive mileage. So
Okay,
they
great.
do receive some compensation.
Right. And then, you know, it's just nearby in Santa Ana?
It is
Down
in
at the
Santa
courthouse?
Ana.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like this is worthwhile. You actually have done it 3 times. Are you going to do it another year at some point, you know, depending on your schedule? Maybe?
I have a wife. I want to keep it that way.
You have a wife and a life. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so important that we start to pull people from the county. And
is.
for a lot of our, you know, residents in our community, they're retired. And, you know, they're just, you know, it's not a huge commitment, but there is a commitment when it comes to this. And then there's a responsibility to actually look at the evidence and determine if they move forward or not. So some of our residents here, you know, maybe want to take a break from playing golf and pickleball or whatever it might be, and, you know, help be a part of this process, because it's so important to our judicial system here in the county. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the
Thank you,
program.
Paul.
We appreciate
Thank you.
it. Great work that you all are doing, and good luck to you the rest of the year.
Thank you.
You bet. Hey, we're going to be back with the Boomers Club, and we'll be talking about their holiday dinner dance right after this.